When Scott Steiner appeared at the Survivor Series, the atmosphere was electric. It was 2002, and WWE was beginning to sign some of the biggest former WCW wrestlers. There were 17,000 fans on hand inside Madison Square Garden. When the sirens started to sound, Matt Hardy and Chris Nowinski were in the ring, but were quickly interrupted. Steiner destroyed both men, clotheslining and suplexing them out of their boots. But of course, this wasn't the first time Steiner had appeared in WWE. He had wrestled for the WWF as part of a tag team with his brother back in the early 90s. The Steiner Brothers were one of the mid-90s most fearsome tag teams. They made a name for themselves across WCW, ECW, and even in Japan. Their hard-hitting wrestling style gained them millions of fans and made them notorious backstage among other wrestlers. Scott and Rick were both decorated amateurs and were named NCAA All-Americans during their careers before turning pro. When the Steiner brothers came to the WWF in 1993, there were high hopes that they would bring credibility to the Federation's struggling tag team division. While they did win the tag team titles twice, they were a shadow of the team they'd been in WCW and Japan. Their wings were clipped by Vince McMahon, who was marketing the product directly to kids at the time. A violent, smash-mouth tag team like the Steiner brothers didn't fit that vision. They left the WWF after just over a year. Interestingly, Scott was being considered for a main event push even back then. Both Pat Patterson and producer Bruce Pritchard were impressed by Scott's look and athletic ability. The team was struggling to come up with a main event for WrestleMania 9, and they suggested to Vince McMahon that Steiner win the 1993 Royal Rumble and headline WrestleMania 9. However, McMahon vetoed the idea, and Scott wasn't interested either, preferring to stay in the tag team with his brother. Ultimately, they returned to WCW, where they had the greatest run of their careers. The Steiner brothers became 7-time WCW Tag Team Champions, captivating fans with their violent wrestling style that suited them best. Eventually, Eric Bischoff decided to split the team, seeing potential for singles success. Scott thrived after the split. Joining the NWO in February 1998, he adopted several nicknames: Big Poppa Pump, the Genetic Freak, and the Big Bad Booty Daddy. He became an ultra-alpha male, a persona that made him stand out. However, despite paying his dues, WCW's unwillingness to elevate new main eventers kept him in the mid-card until mid-2000. That year, he finally ascended to the main event and became the World Heavyweight Champion. He was one of the best heels the business had ever seen, bringing credibility to the WCW World title. His intense character blurred the lines between fiction and reality, leaving fans and peers alike questioning whether he was acting or genuinely unhinged. During WCW's final year, Steiner dominated stars like Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Booker T, and Sid Vicious. However, his title reign came too late to save the sinking ship that was WCW. When WWE signed Steiner, they announced it on Confidential with a great video package, hyping his return. Both Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff and SmackDown General Manager Stephanie McMahon vied for his services. Stephanie even suggested becoming one of his freaks, while Bischoff presented him with strippers. Steiner joined Raw, where things quickly derailed. He feuded with Triple H, who was in the midst of his reign of terror. Despite Steiner's initial momentum, his babyface role felt unnatural. WWE failed to capitalize on his WCW persona, instead reducing him to a caricature in arm wrestling matches, pose downs, and bench press competitions. Adding to the problems, Steiner was suffering from drop foot syndrome, affecting his mobility. His match against Triple H at the 2003 Royal Rumble lasted 17 tedious minutes and ended in a disqualification. The feud dragged on to No Way Out, where Triple H again defeated Steiner, effectively ending his main event push. By WrestleMania 19, Steiner had slid into the mid-card, feuding with Test. His WWE run ended in 2004 after an uneventful Royal Rumble appearance and injury. After surgery to repair his foot, Steiner had a successful run in TNA, where he worked on his own terms and entertained fans once again. Steiner's reintroduction to WWE in 2002 was initially handled brilliantly. However, like many others, he ultimately became a victim of Triple H's dominance, leaving fans to wonder what might have been.